In the Farbrengen of Chayel Tovshin Lamed Beis, something interesting happened. At the end of the Farbrengen, when the Rebbe already started saying which nigun to sing, like first he said he should sing Avinu Malkeinu, then the Rebbe said like this. In the Maamer, which he said, you have to add something. And he says, and I don't know why it was skipped. In the place where I spoke in the Maamer, that Chayel, Pshat is, it gives Chayes into the Inyonim of Elul, so there you have to add these words. That this is Bedugmes, similar to what the Maggid explains on the Pasuk, Asher Yasa Oisam Ha'odam V'chai Behem, if a person does it to live with them. So the Maggid teaches, as through this that the Yid does a mitzvah, then V'chai Behem, means that he's Mamshich Chayes in the Oisiyas HaMachshava V'Adibah V'Amais and in the mitzvah itself. As you have the beer on this in Eira Teira from the Tzemach Tzedek. And the Rebbe said, this is a shaykhs to the Maamer in this place where he spoke about this sinyan. Then he told him to sing a Simchas Teira Dikken Nigen. They sang the Hakofes Nigen, which is the Rebbe's Hakofes Nigen. And when they finished, the Rebbe said, das is a guter Nigen. Ich habe aber gemeint dem Tatens Nigen. I meant my father's Nigen, and they sang the Nigen Hakofes of the Rebbe's father. But what I'm trying to bring out, that the Rebbe said that this piece was skipped and belongs in the Maamer. Now it's very interesting, because there were many times of Farbrengen the Rebbe said the Maamer, and after the Maamer in the Sichas, he added Biyurim and continued in Yonim that he spoke about in the Maamer. But he never said that you should know that this is skipped in the Maamer, because that was not part of the Maamer. Because there is a difference, obviously, between things which are said in the Maamer by the Rebbe and things which are said in the Sicha. So when the Rebbe said a Maamer, and later he added Biyurim or things in addition on top of the Yonim in the Maamer, that was a Sicha. So the part of the Maamer is the Maamer, and that has this Geder, separate union of a Maamer, separate level of a Maamer, and the other ones there's only a Sicha. Obviously, this is when the Rebbe said this as it belongs in the Maamer, and he didn't just continue saying a Sicha and say another word in this union. He could have just explained that this that we said, that Chayel brings Chayis and Elul, and explained that this is connected to the word of the Maggid. He said it belongs in the Maamer, because it shows us that this is something that belongs in the Maamer, so it has the gather of the Maamer, not the gather of a Sicha, even though, and he says he doesn't know why it was skipped in the Maamer. But this is very important to know that there is Gedorim in the Maamer, Gedorim in the Sicha. Be'em is similar to this, not only by a Maamer and a Sicha, but also if something was said by a Farbrengen, in a Sicha for instance, and later the Rebbe added something to it, it's also a different gather. As we know, that sometimes the Rebbe would, after the Farbrengen, send out Tzetlach to the Manichim, to the Chezrim, with adding a few points to the Maamer. So I remember, for instance, once the Rebbe sent out a Zettel, Motzi Shabbos, and the Zettel started like this. Leharad de ha'yisvadis, Leharad nirad means the Rishumei Dvorim, to the Hanoche of the Farbrengen, Lahaisif to add, Bechatzoya Yigel. In parentheses, underline the word Chatzoya Yigel parentheses, and the Rebbe wrote what to add. But the Rebbe wrote that should be in parentheses. Why? So by Pashas, we understood it is because it wasn't said by the Farbrengen. So if you're going to put it in Tanoche, you should make sure that it's in parentheses. Another time the Rebbe wrote very clear. He wrote at Settle Motzi Shabbos, I think it was Motzi Shabbos or maybe Sunday, and he wrote like this: Lahachnis b'harishim etzvorim, lahachnis b'harad, to add in the rad, and then in parentheses the Rebbe wrote b'muzger, in parentheses, and he wrote Kiv mishalei nisker b'hayisvada, since I didn't mention it by the Farbrengen. So since he didn't mention the Farbrengen, when it goes into the Hanoche, it has to be clear that this is not part of the Farbrengen. It has to be in Chatzoy Yigel. So we see here that even that, what the Rebbe said in public by Farbrengen is one thing, and what he added later is a different level. I don't know which Gedorim, I don't know what the Inyonim are, but there's two different Inyonim. It's interesting that Lopeil, the Manichim usually did not really pay attention to this, and if there was something that the Rebbe added, it went in the Farbrengen, and I don't think that always they made sure that you should know that this was not said with the Farbrengen. Also, when the Geya Zetla, when you would ask the Rebbe Shaila after the Farbrengen, the Rebbe would answer. So those answers would go into the Hanoche. Sometimes in the bottom, if it was a side thing, and sometimes in the Teichen, in middle, where it belongs, it would go in. So there were not some Adayik that it should be separate. But by the Rebbe, we see that a different Gdorim. So it's a different gather of what's in the Maamer. And therefore, this inyan from Chayel Tov Shalamet Beis belongs in the gather of the Maamer. Then other times it's a Sicha, even though it's Behemshah to the Maamer and it's in the beer on the Maamer, it's a Sicha, gather of a Sicha. And then sometimes it's not even that, it's not even a Sicha of a Farbrengen, is the Rebbe adding an addition, and that's a different gather, whatever that Pshat should be. But here we see that these are the different Gedorim.